The topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
Let's listen as Lorraine LaPointe, coach, therapist, educator, speaker, and founder of Head Heart Synergy, brings together another enlightened guest to inspire and motivate us to move forward, achieve our dreams and desires, so that we experience midlife awakening.
And I'm your host, Lorraine LaPointe. Today we'll enjoy another candid conversation that reveals how to bring back a sense of balance and how to find forward focus. Today, take just a few moments to join us as we explore the possibilities and the perspectives that provide us with greater inner peace, power, passion, and purpose. Because that's what I call living at the edge of fulfillment in a midlife awakening. Oh, hello! Welcome to all those who are tuning in from so many places around the world. It's so good to have you here. And depending on where you are in the world and where you work, you might be grappling with that job dilemma. You know, it's not really a question of employment. If it's not for you, then certainly it's part of family debates or discussions, or it may even be part of not so friendly discussions as we try to navigate this experience. Or maybe you're someone who's already made the choice. And I wonder, how is all of this sitting with you? Because typically in past times, we'd hear discussions in the grocery lines or at the post office or other places where we used to connect with each other. However, these days, it seems that people rarely stop to have conversations and to speak with each other. And we are feeling more isolated. It's almost like we're being kept scared and fed a steady diet of, misinformation or confusing information. And there's certainly a lot of uncertainty. And when it comes to this question, many are fearful for good reason, and then some make a choice and express regret. Or I've been told by clients that they feel paralyzed or bullied or stuck. And many are asking, what else can I do? Well, today we're discussing the possibilities of a third option. And by that, I don't mean the testing. After all, I was taught from a very young age not to stick things up my nose that don't belong there. And today we'll speak to our guest who says that you can keep your job and your cellular sovereignty. Even if you've been coerced or you've chosen to get it, or she says that you can release the residue and survive and thrive. So before we get too far, let's do a little housekeeping. For those I haven't met yet, I'm Lorraine LaPointe, and I'm host of Edge of Fulfillment. And I'm passionate about supporting anyone who wants to free themselves from toxic physical, mental, emotional influences. Especially, that negative inner self-talk that causes the guilt, shame, blame game. Because for many of my clients, when they reach their 40s, it becomes a time to decide to take a stand and to begin living in connection with who they truly are. Does that land for you too? For many years, they've been working hard to please and appease others, doing what's necessary to get by. And then one day, you get a message, and you're forced into a decision that could change your very core, change your inner essence. So do you take the jab, or do you allow that gene manipulation in your body in order to keep your job? It's a decision that feels overwhelming because it can affect your health, your well-being for the rest of your life. These alternations and alternate genes that change you from the inside out. Your cells become, in some ways, transmuted, whether you experience any injury or not. And being coerced to make a decision, that causes a fundamental shift in our psyche. Because once we agree to allow something to enter our body, you can either feel an elation because you've joined the masses, or you can fear for the future and what now may be coming up, because we've created this left or right, this yes or no, this be natural or GMO. And it's also divided us into those who play the game and those who don't. And either way, it can feel like game over. But today I'm going to ask you, is that true? What if there's another option? And that's part of what we'll explore with our guests today. But before we bring her on stage, let's clarify a few things for those who are new to this space. My company, Head Heart Synergy, focuses on developing and supporting our mindset wellness. And that's why I reach out each week through this radio and talk for TV program. So together we can create an inspiring, safe, sacred space to explore how to create greater peace, power, passion, and purpose. Because that's my definition of living life like we matter. And each week we broadcast in all kinds of different places through different social media platforms. And we enjoy this magic of technology. So whether you're here live or you've come across us later on, we invite you to fully engage and connect with us, because this program is for you. And if there's something in this conversation that you find interesting or that makes you curious, be sure to ask a question or make a comment, because we want to get to know you. And for every comment, every download, every question in this program, my company, Head Heart Synergy, gives a day's worth of fresh water wherever it's needed most in the world through B1G1.com. So I want to thank you for helping me to help others and make this world a better place for us all. So you can get the comments started today by saying thanks to Roxy, who's our producer. She's the magic behind the scenes. And so you can simply add your thanks, your comments, or your questions. And remember, send an invitation encouraging friends or family to join us for this episode as we explore today's topic, which is really hot. You keep your job, take the jab, or what's the third option? And you're here on Edge of Fulfillment on the W4WN.com or talkfortv.com, which is the Women4 Women network, or Talk for TV. And we'll be right back as we take a little break.
Did you know video is the future on content? There are 3 good reasons why video is the future of content. Number 1, videos are often more engaging than simple pictures or music alone. Number 2, it's much easier to tell your story through video. Number 3, because we love to watch video, they go viral much faster. Hey, notice you're still watching right now. See how well it works. Next time we can play your video here instead. Ask me how. Shine online on Talk 4 TV and W4WN Radio.
Hey, are you looking for a brighter future? Wishing for greater calm, clarity, and confidence? What if you knew an inside job was the answer? Your mission: stop the inner burn, gain mental fitness so you get more out of life. Imagine in about 15 minutes a day for just 6 weeks. Come on, we'll show you how. Don't miss it. Just go to www.lorraine.gives/M-Fitness and join us right now.
Well, welcome back. Let's do a little recap. So today we're exploring a special topic. It's keep your job, take the jab, or is there a third option? And what is it? here on Edge of Fulfillment on W4WN and talk4tv.com. So let me tell you a little about our guest. Anaiis Salles is founder and product innovator of a Sourced Solutions, which is a low-cost, high-impact product line for healing. She's a transformation catalyst, and she's known best as an author, a speaker, and an innovator who has been a co-creative healer since her awakening in 1989. She began her career on the cutting edge of helping people without the use of hardware or technology. And her mission is to guide others towards the discovery of their unique, magnificent life purpose so they can powerfully live into their source-sparked birthright. So I'm going to stop talking about it. Hello, Cynthia. So let's stop talking about it and meet her right now. Welcome, Anaiis.
Well, it's great to be here, Lorraine. Thank you so much for the invitation.
It's wonderful to have you here. And, I know what our show title is at the moment, and I know there are many eager ears listening and they want the answer. But before we talk all about that, can we just back up the train just a little and get to know a little bit about you, the woman behind the scenes, behind the story? Where would you like to begin your story?
Oh, well, I think in terms of the time that we have today and the topic, I would simply say that at my what could be considered midlife point at age 39, I had a completely unexpected and unsought awakening. It took about 30 seconds. I was in a meditation, and looking within, which I do, I'm able to look within without. I'm clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, all the clairs after the awakening. And I saw this little tiny ball of silver white light down, sort of at the base of my spine. And I looked and I thought, oh, what is that? And with that thought, this energy shot up, straight up, didn't divert, didn't go anywhere else, but straight up and pow, right into my pineal gland and kaboom. And in that time interlude, I was shown kind of a PowerPoint, a slideshow of literally hundreds of incarnations. And then I was given the information about why I was being connected in that way with that information. And that all of the information would be available to me as a form of direct knowing. And off we go. And I came out of that little exercise and I had energy pouring through me everywhere. And I had no idea. I didn't know what a chakra was. I wasn't, this was not my thing. I was working in a completely different field, making a 6-figure income, mom, wife, partner, husband in medical school, really. And that awakening just it was a tidal wave. It just swept all of that aside.
Wow.
So that was 1989. Within 2 years of that, I was sitting outside in a corridor with an interpreter in Moscow, Russia. And someone had wheeled a gurney in front of us, Natasha and I, and there was a cadaver, dead body there. And I was waiting to have an interview with the director of the men's bird ward at Sklifosovsky Institute in Moscow, because I had a feeling that I wanted to take this energy and I wanted to bring it to burn patients. So it was interesting because the doctor who introduced me to Dr. Larisa Garamova said to me before he went in to talk to her, he said, listen, don't tell her you've never worked with burns.
Oh.
And I thought, well, that's not a request I can honor. I can't honor that request. Whatever she's going to ask me, I'm going to answer truthfully. So I went in, and Dr. Garamova was wonderful. We chatted about all kinds of things. She never asked me if I had worked with burns.
Isn't it funny how the things that sometimes we fear, it never happens?
Well, I wasn't fearful. He was.
But he was.
Yeah, it wasn't my problem. So anyway, we worked it out, and then I spent 6 weeks in Moscow on my own dime on funds I had raised through workshops and teaching. And we had an amazing run. Now, what I learned most from working and collaborating side by side with the physicians, including working with a gentleman when he was having a deep breathing procedure, his two hands had been burned in an industrial accident, steam burns, and he both hands, third-degree burns. He couldn't work, couldn't support his family. And I generated an energy block just by putting my hands on his shoulders so that the pain impulses that I could see, because I can see inside the body, did not reach his brain. And he was very calm and very comfortable during the very chillax, as they say, during this procedure. And his doctor was like, "What is going on here?" And he said to me, "Where is your videographer?" I said, "He's out in the hall." The doctor stopped. He did not want me to stop what I was doing. He went out and got the videographer, brought him back in, and was like, you've got to film this." And I thought, well, that's great. That's nice. And then we got through that moment, and Sergey was very, very appreciative. And then I went in later in the day, because I was running around doing stuff with other folks. I went in to see Dr. Garazimova, our end of day debrief. And she said, "Oh, listen, I want to just share with you that Sergey had a really wonderful outcome." I'm like, "Oh, that's great. He felt no pain. Oh, that's great." She said, "But you need to know he hadn't had any pain medication at all. We save our pain medication now for the ones whose burns are terminal." And so I haven't seen anything like this in my decades of practice, and neither had his physician. And that's why he called your videographer in, and welcome to Russia.
And it's interesting, your story, because my niece was badly burned when she was very young, and so I know she spent about 10 weeks in the burns unit at Toronto Sick Kids. So I do know some things about the burn ward.
Yeah.
And one of the things I know is they have a room they call the screaming room, which is the room where they go in and they clean the wounds. They clean the burns, and the pain is excruciating. They say that it is one of the worst levels of pain that any human can experience. And so if you were able to block that kind of pain for that man, that's amazing.
Yeah, and others, and there were other things that happened, other wonderful medically verified healing instances in different situations, but that was, I think, for me, the most intense.
Yeah, and can we back up just a little for those who are listening who may not be aware about, you mentioned something else about the energy going into your pineal gland.
Yes.
And for those who don't know, the pineal gland is the gland that's behind the forehead, often referred to as the third eye, and thought to connect us to source, spirit, universe, whatever your word is for higher self.
It's the gateway.
It's the gateway. So the fact that the energy went straight into your third eye is phenomenal. And you also mentioned past lives and being able to see many of them. And that's a particular thing that I love to work with my clients on too, is exploring our past lives, because quite often we bring stuff into this life that we're not aware of,
It's a great resource. I think of it as, for me, I called it the living library. And so I based my teaching work after I came back from Russia. I was like, yeah, I'm going to start a school now. I think I've got some information here. And it was, heart to heart living lessons library, because I feel that's so much of who we are. But the thing I want to say right now, Lorraine, is this is, for me, the most important concept. Everything is energy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And energy is conscious. Yeah. So if we start at that platform and we just, for the moment, for the rest of the show, accept or play with the concept that everything is energy first and form follows. And so that's the basis of my healing work as an energy practitioner. Energy first, form follows. And when you are aware of how to do that consciously and work with all of those energies consciously, then you can I will hesitate, but I will use the word, you can construct the forms that you want to create.
Some people call that manifesting, and some people that are skeptical and that haven't explored this kind of world, for those I would term it as quantum theory, scientific quantum theory. Everything is made up of particles and empty space. And how we perceive those particles in empty space is the construct I think you're referring to.
Yes, and so I'm about changing the construct of perception.
Beautiful.
And so we can apply the energy that is us, that is everything else, we can apply it in different ways and create different forms than we're doing right now. And so that's really important to me. And the other thing I want to mention is that I think, we're closing in on 2 years of this pandemic.
Yeah.
And I see things in very complex, multi-layered, multi-dimensional. I talked to you the other day about I'm playing 3-dimensional chess at least all the time. But one of the things that I really observed during the pandemic, and we're still in it, we are either turning toward each other with our energy. We are turning in with our energy. Or we are turning off with our energy.
I love that because, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, there are many walking around at the moment who are turning off, that are isolate, that are believing that they are completely separate from others, and in fact trying hard to be separate from others out of fear. So now that we're kind of we've just lifted the lid of the Pandora's box, and there's so much conflicting information out there about all of this stuff. Would you like to start talking about your discoveries, your thoughts, what is the third option, all of that juicy stuff?
Well, I would, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to do that. Because not only in my awakening experience did I encounter and was I shown what would be qualified as past lives, but I also saw future ones.
Oh, cool.
So, first of all, we have to understand that time is not linear at all.
Time is all in our human imagination, actually.
Time is a human construct. It has nothing to do with the natural world, really. I mean, we see what we see, but time, when we become centered and when we're in, let's call it right, healthy relationship with ourselves and with others and with our environment, we have so much more energy that our relationship with time changes. And just as we can construct forms with energy, we can construct experiences with time. We can expand time. We can contract time, right? Time is a medium. It's a creative medium like everything else. That is energy.
Can I share a metaphor with our listeners that helped me understand time? And this came out of the book Conversations with God that was written by Neil Donald Walsh, but I think it was out of that book. I love those books anyway. But if time were an apple, we are the worm in the apple. So to the worm, there is a past, what it's eaten. There is a present, what it is currently eating. And there is a future, what it will eat next. And so to the worm, there's a past, present, and future. But really, there's one apple. Really, there's one time, and we are traveling through it in our perception of having a past, a present, and the future. And thanks, John. Yes, and John says, I'm manipulating the code.
I write light code, and that's how I design experience.
Can you say that again so that people understand what that means?
I write light code. Light code, once you have energy and you are in an intimate relationship with energy and all the elements of energy in the quantum field, then we can understand that light is, again, it's a creative element, just like time, just like it's all creative material. And when you come into a certain array of frequency and resonance, then you can write light code. And light code is what we see, experience, and feel within the confines of our physicality. It's what gets reflected back to us.
Because my understanding anyway, we are so much more than just this body that we see. Lots of people, I say to them, where are you? And they point to their body. And yeah, that's part of you. But we are so much, in my understanding, so much larger than our body. And our body is in this realm, in this place on earth, is how we experience what we're creating here. Is that
our
reasonable?
body is an anchor point, a reference point in a field of perception, information, growth, expansion, and contraction that serves all of creation. We are an address. We're a storefront.
I love that we're an address. Yeah, because if you dream and you awaken, sometimes it takes you a moment or two to get back into the anchor.
Mm-hmm.
You have that out of body experience, and then it takes a moment or two, as I said, to recenter and get back into this anchor point, this address.
Right. So I have conscious out of body experiences frequently, and I can bilocate. And it was funny because in Russia, when I was working with the kids with cancer at the Moscow Institute of Diagnosis, and they were really interesting. I would visit them at night when we were all supposed to be asleep. And I would play with them and I would talk with them because it was very important for me to have that relationship with them. So when we worked in the daytime with the doctors around, we were comfortable with each other.
And do you mean you physically went to play with them at night, or did you energetically?
No, out of body. I took my energy body and went, to their address and hung out with them. It's great.
And that might be surprising for some of our listeners, that that might be a new concept for some, but you don't have that you can be in another place, not just in your body.
Some of us can be in multiple places simultaneously, past, present, future, here and there, and everywhere, as the song goes. I think it was the Beatles, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, to get to take this and follow this breadcrumb trail to the present moment, these experiences have resulted, the outcome for me is that I can take what is conscious information and light code and other information that is frequency. It's simpler just to call it frequency. And I'm able to encode that information in a way that other people can use it independently of me. So it's a proprietary process, but I am able to do that. And now that, in addition to the physical work I did from the awakening on, has now been validated. People using my product independently of me and having similar results to the young man in the deep reading room in Russia. So
blocking pain.
It's more than that.
Healing.
It's more than that. It's really profound. We have documentation of, really being able to regenerate stem cells, which also happened while I was in Russia. There was a guy who's going to have his leg amputated, and his doctor was frantic because I was in Russia when the Soviet Union was falling apart. Doctors weren't being paid. It was a mess. It's what's about to happen here. It's happening slowly, a little bit more slowly here, but it's happening. But the doctor said, listen, this guy, if we give him a prosthetic, he's lost. We can't give him a prosthetic that is actually useful to someone who wants to function in the world. It will just keep him from always having to have his leg amputated from the knee below and crutches, but he won't be really mobile with his prosthetic. Can you help? He heard from the other doctors. So I said, sure, let's just go do it. And so we did. And again, energy first, form, right? I reset the form, the structure of his physical leg. I reset in energy. His leg was burned down to the bone from below the knee to his ankle. There was nothing there, and they couldn't do any skin grafts. There was no tissue granulation.
Oh my goodness.
Well, the work I did, energy first, following with setting the form, set the stem cell process, it engaged it. And then when I came back a year later, I learned that although it took a while, they were able to eventually have enough tissue granulation. He was able to have skin grafts. He walked out of there on his own 2 feet. So I want you to understand that this is now information. It's all conscious energy. It's all information. and I have a proprietary process that makes it available to other people, and I don't have to be there. So now we're going to talk about, the job.
Yeah, so let's talk about our title, and we're purposefully not using the words so much because our algorithms these days are designed to block your ability to play video and to hear and to have this connect with others. But there is a third option.
There is.
For those people who are aware that, there is some not so nice things happening in that solution
Well,
that we've been offered.
Yeah, that's actually not a solution. It's a problem.
It is.
That is on top of another problem that I personally, because I can see energy and read energy, I got the down low on what that is all is. So here's the thing. You and your body, when you're in a place of inner and outer connection, and you're respectful, and you listen as much as you talk outside, you listen within, you listen to your body. It's communicating with you all the time. And so we've been conditioned in our world that we cannot see inside our bodies, which is ridiculous. That it takes a machine to see inside your body. It's ridiculous. I just makes me, I roll on the floor laughing, because what a ridiculous concept. And so if you are aware of that, then you can have conversations with your DNA. And if you are a person who understands this, and you understand that what is in a mandated vaccine is just information, and with the solution that I have for you in that environment, through a program of what I call cellular sovereignty and immune system support, you can clear your entire body of the information that does not belong there, that is not organic to it and never will be. You can keep your cellular sovereignty. Go ahead and have the vaccination. You work with my program, we go through it, it's 8 weeks, and you clear that information, not the protection. Yeah, and you have your papers, you're authenticated.
And so this is a third option.
This is a third option. And so I'm thrilled to be able to offer this to people. And there are other people here in our realm who understand quantum mechanics, quantum field. They understand this process. But mine is a proprietary, and the program is. I'm so excited because I'll tell you, I had a woman contact me. She was really very, very upset because she's an HR manager in a huge American corporation. And she's been in HR all her life. This is her chosen profession. She's good at what she does. She told me some of the stories of how she had handled really, really devastating circumstances for people, companies she's worked for who were hit by hurricanes and all that. She just steps up. She's that kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
And in her function at work, she needed to deliver the information from her company about you need to have a vaccination, proof of vaccination by this date, before the end of this year, 21, or you are no longer employed here. And this was meant for her as well as the other several thousand other employees of this company. Federal contractors are going through this right now. We all know that they're drilling down now. They're going to drill and drill and drill.
Yeah, and I mean, let's face it, she was not in alignment with this message she had.
No, she was not.
And there are so many people in the same position as you just said. Not only the ones receiving this message about your job or the jab, but those who are having to give
Deliver
the
it.
message and deliver the message, it's out of alignment with who they are too.
Right. So the solution that I have is we don't have to go through any of that. We can have our cake and literally eat it too. You can keep your job. You can go ahead and get that mandated vaccine, and you absolutely. This is what I love to teach. I teach a 3-year program in advanced healing techniques for holistic practitioners because there need to be more people than me doing this now. I mean, how many people are they wanting to push this forward through and coerce? And not everybody can get a religious exemption. I'm an ordained minister. I can get a religious exemption, and I've had COVID and I've recovered. And by the way, if you are a long haul COVID person, please reach out to me. I would love to work with you and see if we can have an impact on the long haul scenario. I don't know yet.
Can you define that long haul scenario?
This is common parlance now with people who had COVID who technically have recovered, but they have recovered with long-term lasting side effects, neurological side effects, impairments in lung function. There are all kinds of system functions that are a person does not recognize who they are after having, quote, recovered from COVID compared to who they were before they became infected. And this is about genetics.
Yeah, very similar, I will say, to those who sometimes are coerced or make the choice out of whatever reason they make the choice, and then feel totally not aligned in their body anymore. They experience all kinds of headaches and tremors and heart palpitations and all kinds of other signs that the body has been invaded by something it does not like.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is the basis for this conversation. And I really would love it if people would just say to themselves, because that's what was going on in that hospital in Moscow, Russia, and on and on and on afterward. How is this possible?
It's a change. It's a change in the way that we have been taught to think. I was listening, a totally different thing, but relates. I was listening to some information about how cryptocurrency works, and one of the first things I was told in this learning thing was you need to change the way you think about money. The way you think about value is one way. It's not the way. And similarly, the way we've been taught or told to think about all that's been going on for the last couple of years, the government and those, it's one way, it's not the way. And there are so many other parts and perspectives that if we can just allow ourselves to open our mind, open our heart, open our energy to allow in an alternative. It's not black and white. It's 1,000 shades of gray.
When in my work as a teacher, I talk about human consciousness is actually more like a kaleidoscope than anything else. And at the beginning of the relationship, you are just one of those little colored chits inside. And then as you look and turn the chamber, you're fascinated by the designs, and you see the chits moving around, and they all just make all these incredible designs. But when you come into full awakened consciousness, you recognize that you are every part of that kaleidoscope, and you have the relationship, and it's actually your consciousness that turns the cylinder so that the design that you see, you are participating in the organization of that design. You are no longer one of those colored chips just getting thrown around, right, with all the other ones. So,
yeah, similarly, another metaphor that a lot of my clients will understand who may be listening is we look in the mirror and we see one reflection. And we're taught that is us, like the reflection you see in the mirror is us. In reality, that is not the truth. There are many parts of us. And if you listen to our language, we actually know that there are many parts of us because we'll say something like we used to say on a Friday night, part of me wants to go out and part of me wants to stay home. I feel conflicted. In fact, anytime we feel conflicted, we're getting a sense of different parts or aspects of us. And I love that metaphor of the kaleidoscope. You aren't the grain, you are all of it. You are many pieces of a personality, of a being, of an
Of a
entity.
soul, of an oversoul, of a creation. We're so much more. I mean, we are huge.
Yeah.
And balancing that hugeness when you have a singular local address where you're focused for a period of quote time, that really undoes a lot of people, and that is can be difficult when you're unbounded and you don't know how to structure
Mm.
and set boundaries so that you can function in this particular framework of this playground, whatever you want to call it. That's not what I call it, but anyway, some people call it a playground. Yes, so this is what we're offering here for people who are listening. And this is a conversation I had with the doctors when I was in Russia because they were blown away. They were just blown away. And we would have these quiet conversations, and I would say, let me give you this thought. Every bit of technology that we use has been made by human beings.
Mm-hmm.
So we are the technology. The technology is not us. And right now we have it backwards. We are the technology. And so what I'm doing in my work is I am being the technology, and I don't need wires.
Awesome. That reminds me, one day I was at school when I was a teacher, and one of the kids, we were talking about computers, and one of the kids said, "Wow, computers work just like my brain." And I burst out laughing because he hadn't made the connection that our brain created computers. Of course, it works like our brain. We created it, so it's going to look and function similarly. But so many of us, that's a paradigm shift, right? It's a
We,
paradigm shift to think that everything in the world that we manipulate, create, touch, manifest is a representation of us and our
yes,
playfulness in the
yes.
world.
And today I would just like to confine it to technology
Right.
because, and medical science, and because we can, I mean, that's another show, Lorraine. We can have that show. But
We could talk
um,
forever, let's face it.
yeah, right. So this is the part that I really would like people to understand. Without human beings, the technology that we are all so in awe of would not be here.
Right.
So who is doing what? Please, folks, if you don't take anything else away from this conversation, understand that human beings have co created this technology. It is coming from their ingenuity, their resources, the earth's resources, not the other way around.
Including the things that have happened over the last couple of years.
Exactly. Exactly. So I invite all of you to jump in and contact Lorraine, and you're going to hear this program for a while. And I wanted to have this program right now because we are heading into a tidal wave of coercion.
Yeah.
And you can keep your cellular sovereignty. You can keep your spiritual integrity. You can keep your alignment with your core values. And you can become shifted out of the fear space because you know you can get this vaccination and you can walk away from any part of it that is not going to mesh with your organic, what I will call divine blueprint in the quantum field. You don't have to keep that, it's just information. What you need to know is how to release that information.
Right.
and how to keep what you want.
Yeah, it's similar to the work that I've been doing with the DNA healing. I mean,
Yeah.
we both of us work with intergenerational trauma, and that is the things that you inherit from previous generations that can be coded in your DNA.
Absolutely. Got to clear it out.
And because your DNA is also energy and form, you can clear it out. You can readjust it. You can tweak what's going on inside your body. And you don't need someone else. Well, you do need someone else to show you the way and how to do it. It's not intuitive, but it's also I want to use the word natural. This is who we are
Right.
as spiritual beings having a human experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And thank you for that, Lorraine, because that's a really important paradigm shift. Yes.
Yes,
Great
Rachel.
job.
Humanity definitely has it backwards. Everyone's looking for something outside to fix him, like a shot, right? We have the answers within us naturally. Absolutely. I mean, there is nothing that I know that's better than what Mother Nature created in terms of our immune system. Now, some people have immune systems that have been damaged through one thing or another, but ultimately, who are we to argue? You know?
Yeah, it's an important consideration. And I have no political agenda for any of this.
Me either.
I have no political party agenda for any of this. I I have my own core values. But if someone is really feeling this mandate is not for me, I got an email from someone who said he wants to do the program because he no longer, where he lives in Australia, he can no longer take his daughter to a public library. And this was unacceptable to him. So it was not in alignment with his core values. So people are coming and people are saying, yeah, let me find out more about this. And this is great because this is in any person who even comes, you've already decided that you're going to activate your gene code in a new way. Just by having a conversation with me.
Yeah.
You've already told your body something incredibly important. And I want to say again, I had COVID early on. I recovered from it in 3 weeks.
Yeah,
And
me
I
too.
was, yeah. And I used Mother Nature's materials in focused, concentrated forms, in addition to my own solutions, my own essences, to get through it in 3 weeks. And it was unpleasant. The pain, the neurological pain was so intense. It really felt like my face was being peeled off. It was all through my face, jaw. I didn't because I can write light code. I was like, you're not going below my neck. You don't get access
You
to
kept it to your face.
You can keep it right here and we're gonna duke it out right here. You don't get to touch the rest of me. Well, this is a genetic, innate paradigm shift. And those of us who have certain, let's just say, prepared, well developed, over long, it's the intergenerational beyond. We might be able to take this next step, and then we will be gaining an enormous paradigm shift for the entire planet. Those of us who say no, we're not going to go that coerced route. We're going to go this route. We're keeping our cellular sovereignty. We'll keep our jobs. We want our paychecks. We have families. We have things we want to do, right? So you can send tremendous message to whatever structures are in play right now who want to control your cellular sovereignty.
And
Tremendous message.
You don't need to let them.
No, I won't.
I want to thank you so much, Anaiis, for coming in today and to giving us this message and to giving us this option, to allowing people to understand that it is so much bigger than perhaps what they thought, and that they have so much more power than they thought. They can take control of their lives and make the choices that they've made for
And
them.
it's just, I mean, we're getting a cloudy day here. Usually I have such great light in this room.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we have to wrap up because we're going to be cut off at the top of this hour. So I want to thank you so much for your input. And there's the email address if you'd like to connect. And at this point, I would just like to remind you that I am Lorraine LaPointe. I am of Head Heart Synergy, reminding you that you are at the edge of fulfillment. And at the edge, there's always a choice. You can stay on the edge and get what you've always got, including some of the stuff that you don't want right now. Or you can become courageous and you can move beyond the edge with a little thought and intention and get what you really want. And we'll see you next week.
Thank you.